New at 11, some leads have the FBI in our area looking for a serial killer.
From the Sky Center, this could be the final night for an Albany homeless shelter.
And a teen learns well and days later saves her grandma's life because of it.
Now, the #1 news in the Capital District. This is NewsCenter 6, new at 11.
State police issue an alert to officers in our area. Keep an eye out for a suspected serial killer. Good evening, new at 11. Part of the nationwide manhunt for a suspected serial killer, Andrew Cunanan, leads police to the Ulster County area.
Czech FBI sources say they've received a report that someone may have spotted and spoken to Cunanan outside of Saugerties. And Woodstock police tell NewsCenter 6 they've been put on alert by state police to keep a sharp eye out for him. The 27-year-old is charged with killing one Minnesota man and suspected in fatally beating another. Cunanan is also a suspect in the death of a Chicago millionaire. From there, police believe he moved on to New Jersey and fatally shot a cemetery worker. The FBI think he's driving the final victim's red Chevrolet pickup with New Jersey plates. The FBI adds that they've had numerous sightings and are following up on all leads.
Albany's homeless tonight are losing one of the places where they can go for shelter. Ed O'Brien has what's happening tonight.
And now, here's...
Jack, at issue here is the Quail Street shelter. It's run by the Homeless Action Committee in Albany. For the past couple of years, they have taken in up to 19 people for overnight shelter. The money coming from the Housing and Urban Development Department, but the money is allocated by the city of Albany. The money is run out, and the committee says its pleas to the city have fallen on deaf ears. So tonight could be the final night the shelter operates. The 19 in the shelter tonight will be on the street tomorrow, and the executive director, Donna, says she expects she will have daily encounters now with police, paramedics, and hospitals.
At a cost of $250 for an emergency room bed per day, per person. The police spend about $200 per day. The paramedics about $250 per day on this population. And we're talking about spending $9 per person here at the shelter.
Now, Donna DeMaria says her group plans a week of overnight demonstrations at City Hall beginning tomorrow. Mayor Jerry Jennings says he is willing to discuss the group's problem, but quoting here, "I'm not going to let her blackmail the city with civil disobedience." Jack?
And a Mother's Day get-together turned into sheer terror when a grandmother was stricken with a heart attack. But thanks in large part to her quick-thinking granddaughter, she is alive tonight. Mary Beth Wenger has more from our news center. Mary Beth?
Well, Jack, 16-year-old Christy Pratt had just finished taking a course on CPR at Lake George High School. When her grandmother collapsed on Mother's Day, Christy gave her the gift of life.
And I just grabbed her, and as I was putting her down, she was turning purple, and my first thing was, is that we're losing her, you know.
Debbie Pratt's 57-year-old mother, Hazel Blackman, was stricken with a heart attack. Debbie's husband, Larry, heard what sounded like her last breath.
That's when that, and I knew that it was it.
But young Christy simply fell to her knees and started doing the CPR she'd been taught in school. She didn't panic. The know-how just kicked in.
I just got down and I knew this was my grandmother, and the only thing I think of, come on, you can do it. Let's go get through this. As I was doing the CPR, just like, I kept saying to her, Grandma, come on, you can do it.
Christy kept with it, performing the rhythmic techniques until she got a pulse. In minutes, the local rescue squad arrived. Now she's being praised for helping save her grandmother's life, and her parents couldn't be more proud.
But she stuck it out. And her grandmother's alive today because of that.
I'd have to say, I'm a believer. Those few seconds, those few first seconds are definitely...
It feels good, but I don't really consider myself a hero. I just consider myself as someone who did what they had to do.
Hazel Blackman, the grandmother, is doing much better tonight. She's breathing on her own, and she had her first meal today, Jack.
Their feel about what Christy did for her, Mary Beth?
Well, the family says her memory is still a little foggy about the entire event. She does know that Christy did save someone's life by doing CPR, and she's proud of that, but she hasn't quite made the connection that Christy saved her life. When she does, we know she'll be very proud.
Oh, I'm sure so, and hopefully the recovery will continue to that point. Mary Beth Wenger reporting live from our news center. Thank you.
A Colony horse owner is convicted on 2 counts of animal cruelty. Last August, animal control officers removed 17 horses from this property along Route 9. They belong to Maria Gaeta, who today an Albany County jury convicted of failing to take care of them. At the time, animal control officers said several of the horses were underweight. She now faces 2 years behind bars, a $1,000 fine, and probation.
She allegedly killed her husband out of love, but a Saratoga County woman still faces arraignment tomorrow. An indictment unsealed today against 64-year-old Jean Hearn charges her with manslaughter. Police say she shot her husband last month at his request because of his poor health. She originally faced a murder charge, but the grand jury decided to reduce that to manslaughter. That means she could get off with only probation.
Schoharie County authorities say a custody battle may have led to murder in Middleburg. Donna Arroyo faces charges tonight. She shot and killed her estranged husband. 48-year-old Frank Arroyo was shot to death inside his girlfriend's apartment on Monday night. Early this morning, officers tracked down Donna Arroyo in Yonkers. State police say a custody battle over the couple's 15-year-old daughter may have led to the shooting.
A worker killed at a theme park in Florida.
And more charges filed against the airman who ran off with a 14-year-old. Here's what else we're following tonight, new at 11. A Nebraska airman found with a 14-year-old runaway from Rochester is now charged with statutory rape and sodomy. 22-year-old Brooker Maltese ran away with a girl whose relatives live in Saratoga after they met on the internet. They were found last month sharing an apartment in Illinois. Maltese also faces desertion charges from the Air Force.
A worker at a water theme park in Orlando dies while working on the wave pool. According to the local sheriff's department, the man was working on a turbine at the park called Water Mania when he was electrocuted and decapitated. The wave pool remained closed for the day, but visitors could still swim in other areas.
An emotional homecoming for Baron the dog, who's credited with saving his owner's life. Baron was outside when he saw Jamie Messner arguing with her ex-husband. He then jumped through a window to protect her and was stabbed several times. Baron did save Jamie, though. A vet treated Baron's wounds and says the dog will be okay.
NASA says there could be some delays pushing back tomorrow morning's scheduled liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Blastoff is set for just after 4 a.m. Atlantis will dock with the Russian space station Mir, delivering a new oxygen generator and other equipment for repairs. Albany voters turned out tonight for the first time for a say on their school budget, and it was a huge vote of confidence in administrators' minds. The $93 million budget passed easily with 71% of voters in favor. Voters in Troy and Saratoga Springs also passed their budgets tonight, as did the budgets in Hoosick Falls and Guilderland, also approved.
Well, they fled to our country, and tonight we took them in. At the State Museum in Albany, 61 former refugees were sworn in as U.S. citizens. The special naturalization ceremony coincided with a new photographic exhibition at the museum. It's called Refugee, the Newest New Yorkers by Mel Rosenthal. The work looks at refugee communities from around the world. Welcome.
Congratulations and welcome, yes. Absolutely beautiful day to start your new citizenship in this country, I guess, and the weather wasn't bad either.
You got that right, Jack. JoAnne, at least the first 3 quarters of the day with the sunshine and temperatures between 65 and 70. Clouds rolled in this evening, and we have them over the area right now. Some light showers from time to time throughout the night tonight, and there will be scattered showers and the possibility of a few thunderstorms coming up during the day tomorrow. Not a washout, but it will be unsettled with a lot of clouds and just a couple of intervals of sunshine. Temperatures at least in the mid-60s, although ahead of the system, if we break out and see several hours of stronger heating, we might get close to 70 degrees. So fairly mild, but a real chilly day following the storm coming up for Friday. So it's really the same old, same old. We get a storm every other day. We have a shower, a thunderstorm, then it gets cold for a day, and then it warms up again, and that's the roller coaster we're on.
Yeah, it sure is.
As long as we have a nice weekend, work on it, will you?
Fingers crossed. Still looks pretty decent.
Good.
Still early, but it still looks pretty decent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Still ahead, for the first time in over 25 years, a member of the New York State Assembly switches sides.
And tonight in Capital Region Retro, a 75-year celebration for a retail giant. But did it stick around?
And making the nation's skies safer. We'll have more on that from the Sky Center.
Still a whole lot more ahead tonight to tell you about. New at 11. We invite you to stay where you are.
You're watching NewsCenter 6, Neal at 11, with Jack Aernecke, JoAnne Purtan, meteorologist Steve LaPointe, and Ric Renner on sports.
This segment of NewsCenter 6 is sponsored by your Jeep Eagle dealers.
Saying the GOP only pays lip service to women, an assemblywoman becomes the first member of her chamber to change parties since 1973. Surrounded by beaming Democrats, Deborah Mazzarelli of Patchogue, Long Island, defected from the GOP to the Democratic majority. Her switch gives Democrats 97 of the 150 seats in the Assembly.
Some parents in one Indiana town are quite upset tonight at a quiz handed out on the Ku Klux Klan at school. Fourth graders at Syracuse Elementary received the worksheet as part of their lesson plan. Among the items, a word search which asked the kids to find the words Jew, commie, and nigger. The quiz also asked kids why someone would join the KKK. One student responded, because it's fun. The district is now investigating that teacher. For a look now at what else is going on tonight, let's send it up to Ed O'Brien in the Sky Center. Ed?
JoAnne, just a year after the fire on board that ValueJet airliner, the one that led to the crash, killing everyone on board in the Florida Everglades, the nation's airlines have now finally agreed to put fire suppression systems on all of their passenger jets. That's in addition to the smoke detectors that they had previously agreed to install on those planes. But they say this decision now to put the additional firefighting units on board will mean it's going to be perhaps as long as 5 years before everything is in place. The federal government now says that is too long, and they are now working on steps to mandate that equipment and get it done more quickly. Jack?
Ed, in Capital Region Retro tonight, an area retailer marks 3/4 of a century in business, but one which wouldn't last much longer.
This day 31 years ago marked the 75th anniversary of a retailing giant back then, the Carl Company. The store opened in Schenectady in 1906 after the retailer had started in Lockport. Carl's worked out of just the one store until 1953 when they branched into the suburbs, Mayfair, Willowbrook, and Glenville, and in 1963 they opened the store at Shoporama in Rotterdam. Carl's president, Charles Carl Jr., said back in '66, mobility was one of the big changes in merchandising.
This reflects itself in completely different shopping habits and completely different uses of merchandise than we used to see 20 or 25 years ago.
Carl's also was concerned about an economic red flag in '66, one we have now too, inflation.
If we begin to curb inflation, we're going to take some of the free money away from the consumer. Won't this hurt your sales?
Temporarily, it should hurt. But in the long run, whatever is good for the consumer is going to be good for us, too.
Carl's later expanded to other stores in Clifton Country Mall and the Uncle Sam Atrium in Troy before economic troubles set in.
The tough times really started taking their toll on Carl's. The stores finally were forced to close back in 1991. Mr. Carl is still very active in the community, though. We see him every year at the Capital District Skins game because he is active